alchemizing in the age of coronavirus, and I'm happy to say that that live is now uploaded on YouTube. So if you missed yesterday's live, you can watch it there. It's not edited and it has some glitches from Instagram, but it's there. You guys, welcome back, and welcome to some of you. Let's see. Oh, it's breaking up. Yeah, that might happen because I'm in my backyard and I've turned off my 4G LTE. So yeah, but it's okay. We're just gonna roll with it. It's gonna be the best that it is. And if there are questions in the end about things that I've said or you might have missed, I'm happy to go over those again. So like I said, I posted my live on YouTube from yesterday, and I think it's titled Alchemical Warfare Strategies in the Age of Coronavirus. So, you guys, I have some really juicy topics to talk to you about today. And the first one being horizontal gene transfer, and why this might be the single most empowering thing about our current world situation. So firstly, what is horizontal gene transfer? So I just discovered this myself. As it turns out, any kind of retrovirus or, basically a virus like we've got going on now, AIDS, HIV are retroviruses, so is the coronavirus. They're essentially viruses that tap into your RNA and reverse transcript themselves. So they create themselves, they insert their own RNA, they have us create their DNA for them, if that makes sense. So that is what a retrovirus is, and it is essential to human horizontal genetic transfer because of this, right? So let me just briefly go over a few things. Punctuated evolution, right? So if you guys aren't familiar with the concept of punctuated evolution, I will speak briefly to it. If you were to graph out all the major spikes in evolution from the beginning of life as a prokaryote cell to where we are now as modern day humans, you would get these very punctuated spikes in evolution that up until recently had no pattern. Our modern day linear thinking scientists, the indoctrinated ones as they are, could not come up with any formula to decipher or depict when these spikes of evolution would occur. However, recently, in the last couple decades, due to scientists and brilliant minds like Dr. Greg Braden, who I referenced yesterday, as well as Dr. Bruce Lipton, came up with a pattern, if you will. They analyzed these spikes in evolution, and they came up with these patterns following the phi ratio, similar to the Fibonacci sequence, right? So these punctuated evolution spikes, if you will, followed the phi ratio spiral. So what does that mean for us, right? So in the book, The Biology of Belief, it was later rebranded to become The Biology of Belief, but originally it was called The Wisdom of Your Cells by Dr. Bruce Lipton, who you guys probably know of him. I'm sure a lot of my audience already does. So check it out. He posited this theory based basically off of, originally when life sprang, there were just small little components of life swimming around. And it was the most evolutionarily stable strategy for these little components of life to band together to form the first prokaryotic cell, which, as you guys know, is a single-celled organism, and it's complete within itself. However, following the phi ratio, the next leap of evolution was, in fact, the eukaryotic cell, which is a bunch of these prokaryotic single-cell amoeba-like, structures grouping together to become the eukaryote. And then from there, it continued on to organism, and then from there, it continued on eventually to where you see us now. And there were many different spikes in between that. So, what does that mean to us in terms of horizontal genetic transfer? So this has been correlated to viruses also. So I'm going to get into that in a moment, but I'm going to talk about the noosphere and the 100th monkey syndrome, which I know you guys already know about this, but just in case you don't, and just to reframe and paint my picture, I'm going to discuss it. So the 100th monkey syndrome, essentially, if you take 100 monkeys or a small population of monkeys and you put them on an isolated island, completely separate from the rest of the world's population, of the rest of that species of monkeys, and you teach them a trick, right, like a skill with using a tool or whatever. Well, after a certain critical mass, right, these monkeys all over the world, regardless if they were in contact with that population or not, instantaneously know the trick. Now, scientists were baffled by this, and they repeated these studies over and over, and they've deemed it the 100th monkey syndrome. Yesterday, I spoke briefly about what that formula came down to be. So it takes, in fact, I said it two different ways, but I'm going to clarify that right now. It takes 1% of the square root of any given population to affect a change in that population. So it's a very small number comparatively. So some of later on, the people went on to study this, called Global Coherence Institute and the Institute of Heart Math. They were studying these types of alterations in the sky, in our atmosphere, roughly around September 11th, when they discovered the noosphere. Because at that time, the noosphere basically had these huge spikes because of September 11th. So they were like baffled. How could this be? We're measuring the atmospheric electromagnetic field of Earth called the noosphere, yet there is a clear spike at the time that September 11th happened. And so they went on to continue studying this phenomenon, and what they discovered is that as human emotions peak or combine into a coherent type of resonance, aka in this situation was fear and sadness and grief, you will see great spikes in this field called the noosphere. So that's going to come into play in a little bit. So just table that and take that and put it in your back pocket and stew on that information. So horizontal gene transfer with the coronavirus, as it is a retrovirus and it's spreading rapidly, right? Let's just go, for the sake of this conversation, let's go with the mainstream hypothesis that it is in fact a virus like we've been told it is, that it's not caused from alternative things. This is like a thought exploration. I don't know any more than you guys do. I don't think at this point anybody knows. But it's important for us to strive for metacognition when we're thinking about these things, so that we can essentially get a bird's eye perspective to know what the hell is really going on and be prepared. Be calm but alert and aware. So let's go with the mainstream narrative that this is a normal virus as it is, spreading through human contact. Eventually, they're positing that everybody in the population is going to receive this virus. Now that gets really, really interesting when we talk about genetic horizontal transfer, horizontal gene transfer, because when a virus reverse engineers itself in your body, it also takes on your DNA and then passes it on. So essentially, your genes and everything and all the genetic memory that you have in you is now getting passed on to anybody else that gets that virus. Essentially, we are forming a massive Akashic records of genetic material. Not only that, it's like we are reassembling the metaphysical library of Alexandria that we've lost so many times. So regardless if this was, like, I'm not talking about alternative ideas right now, even though I'm probably on the same page as you guys if you're thinking like bioengineered or whatever. We're not going to talk about that. We're strictly talking about the mainstream narrative at this moment, but all of them apply, right? It doesn't even matter. So, so as we go into that thought, right, our genes and all the skills that you've learned in this lifetime are now getting updated and uploaded to all the people that this virus will come in contact with. This is massive. Okay, the implications of this are phenomenal. Yesterday in my live, I talked about an event and how all the different schools of thought have been predicting an event for, time immemorial. And how that event was maybe scheduled for a later time, but the fact that this has happened is jumping, right? Like, it doesn't matter, this is our event. And the brilliance of this exact moment is in fact coded in horizontal gene transfer. Because check it out, there are so many of you that have learned these skills, such as like what we might have called in ancient Hindu times the siddhis, right? These special, paranormal, almost, psychic, those types of skills. So many of us have been learning how to lucid dream, or learning how to astral travel, or astral project, or remote view, or even just be in control of our thoughts, control reality. So all those skills are now getting transferred directly from each person that gets in contact with this. So if you want to talk about, like, if you're still scared about getting the virus, I would say go watch my other live. It's on YouTube now. It's pretty simple to heal and cure, but that's not the topic for today. The topic is to empower you guys and restore your rightful power right back to you. So that is, I think I've covered all the bases. Yeah. Oh, so the last thing about this first topic, right? So I spoke earlier about punctuated evolution. So you might think, right, that our next big gnarly jump and spike of evolution might be like humans flying or getting superpowers or teleportation and all that. And that may very well be. However, in Dr. Bruce Lipton's book, The Biology of Belief, that was a game changer for me. I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it already. He posits that, in fact, the next jump of evolution, if you follow the trends, is not us getting superpowers, but in fact becoming the brain, the neural network for this being that we know as Gaia. So essentially the noosphere is her brain, like the place where the neurons are firing. We're like the neurons for her, according to this theory by Bruce Lipton. So that is the next logical jump. If you follow the patterns and you know how to mathematically analyze the magnitude of each spike in the phi ratio of the punctuated evolution, the next logical jump of evolution is, in fact, Gaia, Earth, getting consciousness, becoming a being, which she already is alive, but it's the next evolution of that. And just the last thing I'll say on this, if you are following like some of the Native American First Nations theories, not theories, but what do they call it? Prophecies. They've been talking about this too. So it's really beautiful when we see all these students of syncretism, and what I mean by syncretism is people that study ancient philosophies and modern day science like quantum physics and take on the synthesis of that and learn how to process this information with the metacognition, right? So that's really the beautiful point here. So that is all I'm going to talk about with horizontal gene transfer. Next, juicy. Let's talk about some possible timelines that we might be going into. A lot of people in my community, in the woke community, in the resistance community, are scared shitless. Why? Because of two things, right? Forced vaccinations and 5G as bioweapons. And I want to speak first to forced vaccinations. A lot of you, like if you're coming from the mainstream narrative, you might feel like vaccinations are the only solution, and that's fine. We're not going to get into that. But I will speak to those of you that are terrified about getting like your health, your sovereignty altered, right? Somebody coming in and saying, boom, you got to take this vaccination, you got to have this chip so I can track you, right? This is what I'm going to speak to right now. Because I was sitting actually right here just hours ago doing some breath work and doing some chanting and getting very clear on what's going on here. And I realized we have been giving away our power in massive ways. Let's just think a little logically for this right now. So let's go with the timeline or the ideology that there are people in power, I spoke briefly to yesterday, that in fact want to enslave and control the entire population via, nefarious means. Let's just think about that. Let's think for ourselves about that. Do you think these people have any idea about their own power or how to use it? Do you think that they have even 1% the electromagnetic toroidal field to create reality in that regard? They don't. Why would somebody go to that extreme to create all these systems of control and blah? I mean, maybe it's a natural evolution, but they clearly have no power. And that's why they need us. If you look at things, it's all hidden in plain sight, right? Oh, tune into your programming, and now we return to our regular program, right? On television back in the days, remember that? They used to say that. Now it's everywhere, right? With the control of the internet and the censorship and all these things. Like, there is a war for our minds, and all of you guys already know this, but I'm just painting a picture here for you so that we can recenter and reclaim our power. Because if they're having to go to these immense distances to try and control us, that tells me they're probably not very powerful, right? Logic. However, let's just go with this. Let's say that they did have a chip in a vaccine that assembled within the body and hooked to a smart grid, blah, blah. So let's go with that for a moment. If you took a chip and put it in that tree right there, what do you think is going to happen? Nothing. Maybe they could read back some data like a smart meter. They might be able to be like, oh, this is this temperature, this has this much water content. But do you think that chip is so powerful that it can actually override the field, the electromagnetic field that makes this tree back here grow in perfect health and harmony? Fuck no. What are we? We're like complex trees. Why are we giving away our power, fearful that if they inject us with something that we're so weak that they're just gonna take away our freedom? No, you guys, they want you to think that. They need you to think that so that you can create that. The nocebo and the placebo effect, right? This is what's happening. They want you and they need you to fall into those narratives. There are traps everywhere, right? You have the generators in society, which are the people that are like uninitiated, and they're been given this doctrine to go by with the mainstream media. It's the gospel for them, and they're creating. So we, the thinkers, are scared, and we start thinking, oh my God, these people are going to ruin our sovereignty. And in that, we forget that we are extremely powerful beyond what we ever even could imagine. So I'm going to go into in a little bit what that means and how we can protect ourselves and amplify ourselves further. But for now, I want to talk briefly about 5G, because I know a lot of you might think for yourselfers, the people that actually really, really, really are tuned in, aware, alert. You guys are tripping out, and I am too, don't get me wrong, but we're tripping out about the 5G and how toxic it is, right? And yes, there are scientists out there that have very powerful data that say this is actually something that we should be worried and concerned about. However, I think that this is such a great opportunity because I'm going to teach you how to access the most powerful bioweapon on the planet. You have it. Every single one of you do. Right there, wherever you are, it's right there. Because you know what it is? The most powerful piece of technology that we've ever seen on the planet is the human electromagnetic toroidal field. And not just any human electromagnetic toroidal field, one that is in coherence. Mind, heart, coherence. So I'm going to teach you briefly how, if there are ever any vaccines or chips or whatever injected to you, 5G beamed at you, how you can destroy definitively with just the coherence and the resonance of your heart. I know a lot of you follow the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. So he puts out some brilliant research that is science-backed on gamma brain waves. Now, this is a new field of brain waves that we have previously not been taught about in school. We only learned up to like delta and theta, which are great in their own regard. Gamma. They have taken teams of scientists to study people, especially monks, that have put themselves in a gamma brainwave state. And the team of scientists would be like, what's going on? They should be having an epileptic seizure, because normally gamma, the only time they've ever seen gamma waves before is when people are having a seizure. In this case, the people are totally zen, totally meditating, just peaceful. And the scientists are baffled. Why aren't these people breaking down and having a seizure at gamma? So they did this study too. They studied and they found spontaneous remissions of numerous diseases that I'm not going to get into now because that's not the contents of this live, maybe in the future. So creating a gamma brain wave and heart wave state is simply taking the waves from your brain and the waves from your heart and making them coherent, because in Basic Physics 101, we know that when you amplify, when you have something in harmonic convergence, if here's the sine wave and you add another sine wave in harmonic convergence, you don't just get like the additive of the two. You get an exponential increase in the amplitude of those waves. So that is what we do when we train our brain and our heart to create coherence. In a different live in the future, I'm going to be going over some techniques that I've been working with, either through dance or breath work or just Vipassana meditations that actually get you there. But that's not what I'm going to get into now because I know I'm running out of time, and at least it's not dark like yesterday. So, in your body, you have the most powerful technology on the planet. Weapon, protection, defense mechanism, whatever you want to call it, you own it. So try, if they may. Like, you ever think about why they need to post up 5G towers every 200 feet? 200 feet. That can't be that powerful, you guys. It's known that trees and water block those waves entirely. We need to take our power back. We need to remember the power of the human body to, one, heal itself on command, to, two, protect yourself from anything. But there are some requirements in order to do this. The first one is you have to get enough good water, high quality water, nutrients, vitamins, nutrients from whole foods, essentially eating raw as much as possible. You need to get your feet grounded in nature, and you need sunlight, like a plant, right? You give all those four things to a plant, what's it gonna do? It's gonna produce fruit, it's gonna continue to thrive and grow. You take even just one of those away, what happens? Imbalance, disease. So we are advanced houseplants. So try focusing on that. Giving those things to your body, we can heal anything on the planet. Anything. I've healed myself from a broken spine. Paralyzed, y'all. Paralyzed for a month. Healed. Skateboarding again in 2 months. Okay? I'm going to do another live on the power of the human body later. But that's, yeah, anyways. So I wanted to leave you guys with a couple of resources that you can research now. I obviously talked about gamma waves with the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. Powerful stuff. Go check it out. Montauk Chia has an amazing YouTube channel. So much resources on there. And this guy is a master. He is like even doing his little meditations of how to activate your own healing energy field. Powerful stuff. And it's easy to follow too. So it's not like anything that's gonna throw you off. So you guys, this is the end of my contents today. I don't know if there are questions. I'm going to briefly scroll through this because I do have a little bit of light left. So, yeah, if you guys, here, let me grab this. you guys have questions for me, write them now. Otherwise, you can message me, but it's obviously way better to do it when we're all together so that everybody else benefits from it. Hi, you guys. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I hope that the audio was clear the whole time. I hope that you guys were able to hear it okay. Okay, great. Looks like there's no questions. So I'm just going to close it out then, you guys. This live will be available for 24 hours. I made my account public. You guys are always welcome to share or write me. And then afterwards, I'll do a screen capture and then share it to YouTube. I've got some other videos up on there, like interviews on Ubuntu now. Also a video on how to become sovereign immediately. So you guys can check those out. And I think this is the time where it's really incredible to be alive on the planet, because never have we ever been given an opportunity so crisp and clear to really test ourselves of our strength and just what are the limits of this technological suit, this divine, earth mineral suit that we are renting. There are incredible implications that we have yet to tap into. So I encourage you to go back and research the things that I've spoken about. Oh, looks like I do have a little question. All right. What is the name of the YouTube guy you mentioned last? Okay, so that is Mantak Chia, M-A-N-T-A-K space Chia, like chia seed. What's the YouTube from yesterday? So I believe it's called Alchemy. Alchemical warfare strategies in the age of coronavirus, or just maybe alchemy in the age of CV, right? So I didn't want to write out coronavirus because they're censoring that. So that's the YouTube from yesterday. You guys, oh my God. All right. Thank you so much for being with me today. And I hope that this message leaves you feeling empowered and like empowered in the most powerful of ways, like knowing you're the most powerful technology on the planet. All right, you guys, much love.